Let me come to you, Kevin Osido. Do you sense there is, chest thumping and possibly battle of egos, so to speak, from the different houses and also from the executive? Because we do have the president on record saying that there is no money and, governors should just work with what they have. What do you see as the real problem?
Mike, this is a real crisis. From a devolution perspective, I think there are efforts to stifle devolution. And those efforts, I think, are time-barred. I believe that those efforts will not see light of day. And I am quite confident that Kenyans, going by the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and the chapter that gives us power to reap from devolution, will not give the opportunity and chance for people whose interest is to destroy devolution. Why? Because devolution has really done wonders around this country. Not to, of course, excuse the fact that there are certain counties where resources have not been effectively and adequately utilized. But what I see happening is, and I would want to agree with you, a game of egos and an opportunity for people to chest thump and say, if you do not want to involve us, we have an opportunity to hold your hands and tie them, and then we see how you will be able to involve us. I don't think that is necessary. It is not relevant. It's not what Kenyans want to see. All of us are Kenyans, and really Kenya has to be our business. Senate must be seen to be defending devolution. Governors must be seen to be doing what the citizens have put them in office to do. And National Assembly has its responsibility. And there is no arm in all this play that has the power to either take it all or give it all. It has to be a consultative process. I am quite disturbed, Mike, because from a civil society perspective, we've been tracking how counties have been receiving funds, and it is quite unfortunate that since devolution began, the first devolution conference in 2014, this issue was raised. Why? Because counties received their monies. There was late disbursement of resources to county governments. 2015 in Kisumu, the same thing was discussed. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, this year in Kirinyaga, the same issue was discussed. It therefore means, in my view, therefore, Mike, that there are certain things that we are doing very well, but there are areas where we need to really recall ourselves and get to the table and ask ourselves, what is the issue and what must we do about those issues, which are gaps in my view.
All right, and well, the question that is asked by many is there a deliberate effort to cripple devolution, even as the revenue allocation, continues to be looked at? We do have, the president being pronounced, and as the revenue allocation standoff persists, and with the counties almost grinding to a halt, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto maintain that the government does not have the money that the governors are asking for. President Uhuru Kenyatta instead advised the county chiefs to accept the offer on the table and move on. Let us listen into his sentiments on this matter.
Hatuwezi kugawana pesa ambayo haiko katika hazina ya kitaifa. It would be irresponsible for us as county and national government to share resources that are not available in our national treasury coffers. And that is why we encourage counties, the national government, we encourage the Senate and National Assembly so that we can agree. And I want to say here, we are at the verge of agreeing.
Kuna mtu moja peke yake anaunda pesa, na huyo ni mtu anaitwa Delaru na anaishi pale Nairobi. Sisi wengine wote ni tutoe jasho ndio tuone pesa. You cannot make money, you cannot print money. So jameni, tafadhalini magavana, tumieni ile mko naye kwanza sawa. Sisi wote tupambane na ufisadi, badala ya pesa kuingia mifuko ya wachache na kunonesha tumbo zao. Fanyeni wananchi kazi.
All right, let me start with you, Senator Kajwang, the president there, the deputy president, saying that, honestly speaking, there is no money, so accept the offer on the table and work with it and move on. But also, as the president is speaking, there is almost a connotation or a sound that part of the reason why the money is not being dispensed is because counties have not been accountable with the money that they have been given.
The budget process does not start in the month of July. It starts very early. I think it starts around September when the budget policy statement is made public. And it is in the budget policy statement that even the allocations and revenue projections are well spelled out. So Parliament starts getting involved in this matter very early. Early in the year, we are already looking at the budget policy statement. Both houses present their views on it, even before the Kara bill comes to both houses. What I'm trying to say is that we should not be where we are because we saw this coming. Those numbers were made public much, much earlier. Now, let me support the point raised by Mheshimiwa Onyonka, that government at both levels is prone to oversight, not just by the senator and MCA at the county level, but all elected leaders. I am of the view that even a member of the National Assembly has got a duty to oversight how funds are utilized at the county level. Not with the same level of vigilance as a member of county assembly, but he has a responsibility because that is money that comes from the consolidated fund and comes into the county revenue fund. The county development boards that we established in the County Governments Act, it is the governors who went to court to declare it unconstitutional. We appealed, went to the Court of Appeal, they put up a strong defense, we lost the case at the Court of Appeal. The question is whether we should proceed to the Supreme Court. I have already drafted amendments to that section of the County Governments Act to change it from county development boards to county leaders forum. Because there's nothing wrong, there's nothing unconstitutional when leaders from a county, whether they sit in the National Assembly or the Senate or the County Assembly, there's nothing wrong when they sit together and understand the needs of the county. So we must build that framework. And on that, I agree absolutely with Mheshimiwa Onyonka. Budget stalemates are there world over. In the US, shutdown almost every year. The other day, there was a shutdown because of the wall. Correct. The previous year, there was a shutdown because the Democrats and the Republicans couldn't agree. So in my view, we should not paint it as one of the greatest failures that this country or this parliament has ever gotten into. It is a process. What we now need to do is to soften our positions. When we went to bury Joyce Laboso, Governor Oparaja made a very weird comment. He said that them as governors, they had already agreed with the deputy president on the figures. But now National Assembly and Senate are acting like cows. They are bulls that are fighting and counties are getting hurt. So where even the Senate has taken a position where we believe that counties ought to get more because they ought to do more, that they need to take on more functions, then the governors tell us that they had already reached on a deal with the deputy president. And yet, the function of budgeting is a function of parliament. Yeah. Where I disagree with the president and the deputy is when they try to, in a very condescending manner, tell parliament on how to budget. That is the duty of parliament. Correct. Their job is to ensure that the economy grows. It is not enough for the president to complain that there is no money. Their job is to ensure that people are not stealing in the name of dams, which end up in private accounts. That is what they should do. Absolutely. They should not be lamenting like the rest of us, but they should allow Parliament to play its role in budgeting. And I believe that Parliament, even though sometimes we fight and seem unreasonable, at the end of the day, our parents draw drugs from those hospitals. We must make sure that counties are
Honorable
activated.
Nyonka, I know you want to come in with something to say, but also as you do that, there is also the narrative that National Assembly is in cahoots with the executive to stifle devolution. What would you say to proponents of that kind of narrative?
Yes and no. In cahoots with the government to stifle
county
devolution, it is not true. Mike, I'll tell you, some of us are very passionate because some of us have spent 20 years fighting, struggling, discussing. Many of us have been through school asking ourselves, what are the challenges that Africa faces? And Africa's challenges are basically based on resource allocation. And that is why countries fight. That's why even the quote-unquote tribal wars begin. It's because everybody's saying, you are taking more resources than us. You are not. So many of us are very sensitive, and we understand that the county system, that the constitution we have, devolution cannot be touched. Is devolution not being fully implemented? Yes, it is not fully being implemented. Are there some functions which need to be devolved and therefore funds devolved to these functions? Yes. But Mike, at the same time, you look at some of the functions which have been devolved, all right? And right now the county governments are handling them. And it is a charade. In fact, one of the issues that you see that is being brought out right now is, should we bring employees of the county governments to be hired by the Public Service Commission? Yes. Why? Because every time you find a governor has made an announcement he's going to hire nurses, he just goes for his tribesmen, irrespective of many of them being qualified or unqualified. So these are the challenges that devolution has brought into our country. Should we be worried about what is happening in Parliament? Yes. You have Jubilee having majority of senators. You have Jubilee having majority of members of Parliament. You have Jubilee having majority of the county governments. You have Jubilee having everything. I mean, the opposition, which I shouldn't even be discussing this. I should actually be telling Jubilee, this baby is your baby. President Uhuru, yes, we understand the country doesn't have money, but you must come up with solutions which make sure that the country moves ahead. But at the same time, Mike, the problem, I can repeat here again, governors can do better. They must do better. Kenyans are not happy. I mean, right now, and I'm not saying this because I'm a member of Parliament, you can imagine what some of us will be doing without CDF. Because some of the projects that I have in my constituency, if you look at, I'm able to build a classroom at 600,000 shillings. But go and look at some of the buildings that governors are doing at 140 million. I mean, when you look at the hospital, it's only Makueni that people mention.
The rest are all... The
rest are just a charade. So these are very critical issues. And I think, finally, Mike, I think if the meeting is going to be held today, let all the stakeholders sit with reasonable expectations. Let us have a give and take, and let us make sure that this issue is sorted out. Because resolved. The workers in the county governments who don't get their salaries, it is not just them as individuals. They have families, they have commitments, and they have responsibilities.
All right, we are hoping that there's going to be white smoke.